I didn't delete that. Oh, it's stupid. Here.
Hi.
Oh, hello. Let me find my window here. How's your Saturday going?
Good, but I have a headache, so.
Oh. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm sure this won't help.
Yay.
Well, you have a nice view of my laundry room back there. Laundry closet, I guess. So, did you work on this little class diagram at all?
A little.
Does it make any more sense?
No.
Yeah. Our professor, how does he say his name? Westonsey?
I don't know.
I posted a question. In the
Discussion board?
Yeah, that just kind of said, well, how do you decide what should be a class or what should be an attribute of another class? And
Yeah, I'm still confused on that part.
Yeah, and one person replied, but Brother Westonsey replied and said, "Hey, I was hoping for more participation here because it's a great question, invites critical thinking." He basically said there are many different ways to approach it, as you've shown, and I will say that there isn't necessarily a right way, which can make answering these questions directly pretty difficult.
So is there a wrong way?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is there a wrong way? Because there's just a right way.
This is a question I'll cover in an office hour session in the next week or two. In the meantime, I would ask this question again in the developer forum for next week. I think, it didn't get a lot of exposure in the other. I put it in the questions one.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have put it in the developer forum. So
do that.
I will see what he says. So,
or what other people say.
I think, honestly, if we kind of just give it our best shot and turn something in, they're going to.
Or show what we got.
And then they'll probably say, okay, here's what we really want you to do. Kind of like we did with user stories, where write your user story and then I'll give you a user story that I want you to work off of. I suspect that so that we're all doing the same thing, they're going to give us a diagram that they want us to work off of. So
that makes sense.
I went over this. Let me share my screen with you. We'll do this one. All right, so you can see that screen now.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me grab my Word doc. So I kind of went down through it again and brought down this Word doc that I thought would be just for my own thinking to say, okay, after looking at it one more time, here's a game class that keeps track of the elapsed, the start month, the number of people, where they store the file. Then a player class for the person who's actually playing the game. A wagon, which we're going to use to keep track of the
People.
It'll be like an
players.
association class that contains the trekkers, and the one attribute that it will have is basically the mile marker, like where it's at on the thing. Start month, I really moved up into here, so I'm going to get rid of that altogether. When you go into the thing, it's kind of, I started with this because I gotta find the user story again, but the user story talks about being in.
You're going robot.
Store. What's that?
You're going robot. Like you're going robotic.
Oh, like my signal?
I guess. You just sound robotic.
Oh, bad audio. I was rustling a bunch of papers.
No, it wasn't the papers. It was just your voice going robotic.
I see. Here it is. So
hello?
Yep, I'm still here.
Oh, I'm like, he went quiet.
When he buys, so it says when a user is chosen a month to start, they're shown the menu for Matt's General Store. Using this menu, the user can use their funds, determined by their occupation, to buy oxen, food, clothing, ammunition, and spare parts for their wagon. After the users enter a number for an item to buy, the user is prompted to input a quantity. So you say, I want to buy an oxen. So you put in number 1. And we need to keep track of the fact that they picked oxen, right? Like that's a variable that has to go somewhere in memory. So I was thinking that you're going to have to know what item they chose, right?
Right.
And then you say, okay, then they have to prompt them for a quantity to buy. And really, this is we're getting into the nuts and bolts of the programming. If I have a view on the view layer, right? So maybe I have a class in the view that says that's the shopping cart, because I'm not permanently hanging on to that information. But out in the view, it's going to be, I've got to remember what he chose. And then they then he decides, okay, now I have to pick a quantity. There are no partial purchases, only whole numbers can be used. So you pick a number, and then it calculates how much money it would cost. Okay. Once the user enters a quantity, the user is taken back to the store menu, and the quantity and total are updated for the item, as well as the total values for the funds at the bottom of the menu. So you almost need a shopping cart interface to say, I got to keep track of the things that he's bought, right?
Yeah.
And then, but I don't know if that would really go on the model layer or on the view layer. I think it would probably end up in the view layer, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So we may not have to do that this week.
No, it's just like getting everything in storage, I think, this week.
All the permanent stuff, right? So
yeah, we can add like little, like what the items should be, or items, or take away items or not.
Yeah, so
I kind of want to add medicine too.
What's that?
The medicine part, because it's like when I was playing the Oregon Trail, you always get sick. It's like, can we not get sick?
Yeah. I didn't know there was medicine you could choose.
No, I wanted to bring medicine though. That's the problem.
Oh, I see.
Because in the real Oregon Trail, you would have medicine with you at some time. But in the original trail, it's like, where's the medicine? You get sick and you die. Okay. You lost all your players.
That's a great point. So,
yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to move on my little interface here. I'm going to move these over and just make a note that says, you know, something like probably part of the, I'll do it in italics. In the view layer. All right. So then once they get out of the store, we need to keep track of what they have in their you know,
Inventory?
Yeah. So I thought you could do a resources class that's the composition to contain all the resource items purchased. And then you'd have an item, its name, its quantity. I don't know if you need to keep track of price because they've already bought it.
No, they don't need the price.
And yeah, so maybe I'll get
Well,
rid
in
of
different forts, there's different prices for the same thing because they go higher. I
Oh,
think.
like when you get down the trail more, if you want to buy stuff that it costs more.
Yeah, it always costs more because I always stop at because I always need food.
Uh-huh.
And I had to stop at like the forts, and they were all different prices, all the same different prices, like a cent more or something like that.
Hmm.
So we gotta look into that.
So I'm going to get rid of price because I don't think we need to keep track of that. We just need to know
Not yet.
how many they have, what it was called, and an item number. Do we even need to have the number? No, I'll leave it there just in case. All right. So then a map. I you know, in talking, Devin's not here, but you know, I really think our map is
Important.
But I don't think it needs to be three-dimensional.
No, I think it just needs to be like a flat map. You start here from here and like just show the trails, like the trail where you're like going to end up or where you're at.
Yeah. And it really will be, you know, let's say that Independence is mile 0, right?
Yeah.
And then clear down here is Oregon is mile, 1,000. And on our map, we'll have locations, right? So maybe I have at mile 250
You have a river.
Is a river, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So then I just know that if and then mile 500 is, Fort Bridger or Independence Rock or something, right?
Yeah. And then along the lines an airport.
Right. And so these locations, I have a mile marker and I want to know when they were visited because somewhere down the road, it tells me, it keeps track of, like at the end of the game. Oh, when you go to view the map, it'll show the places you've been and when you were there,
Yeah.
So a location would just be a mile marker and a date visited, and we need to add stuff like a description, I'm just going to call it description. Let's do a name and description. And and then there could be a position attribute that just keeps track of, or a position class that keeps track of the current mile marker of the wagon, right?
Yeah.
And this is again another judgment call of, well, I have a position class, but maybe I just up here position, location.
The wagon
is the current mile marker of where it's at, right?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't need this whole class for that,
No, you wouldn't.
So I'm going to nuke that and just do current mile marker as an attribute of
the wagon.
So I'm going to replace this current mile marker. Use keep track location, position of the wagon. Okay, that's good. All right. Then you have a pace. You got to keep track of the current pace. We need to know if they're wearing somebody out, right?
If they're going too fast or too slow.
If they're going too fast or too slow, and the same thing for the rations. Okay, daily ration. Feeling meager or bare bones, and a name. Look, and this one I replaced with Trekker. You know, so I'm gonna nuke this one as well. So it's pretty simple as far as what we need to keep track of at the model level, right?
Yeah.
There might be other things we do at the view and the control level, but the model level is pretty simple. You know, the general game, who's playing, what the name of the people are, the trekkers are, and if they're alive or dead, and how healthy they are. We need to keep track of how many resources they have, and where they are on the map, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's about it. I don't, you know. So I started on this thing back here to say, okay, here's our game, our player, our trekker. I'm still trying to figure out how to get these.
Yeah, that's the problem I have too.
Is getting this thing to work. You know, like
the lines, the class.
Like, yeah.
I have an issue with that.
Have you figured it out?
Nope.
Okay.
I'll probably watch a YouTube video if I have to.
Neither have I. So
it'd be probably a good idea to watch a YouTube video.
Yeah.
It's like, this is how you do this. Oh, yeah. That was easy.
Yeah. So do you want me to email you that Word document?
Yes.
And then, and then I guess what we'll do is I'll work on these I'll work on this chart and post it up.
Okay.
So that's all for this week, right? What's that?
You're way ahead of me. I'm still figuring out the visuals thing.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I will show you is when you make a new class. Okay. Yeah. So this part I watched, which was kind of really helpful, was okay. Where'd it go? There it is. So if I make a new class right here and I just start typing, you know, Brad's class. Sorry. I was going in and one at a time, I would go in here and make it bigger.
Oh, I did that too.
What's that?
I did that too. I'm like, one at a time, and then you could just right click and just do it all on one thing.
Yeah, and then go add, and you say with a getter and a setter, then it goes, and it makes these things down here.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
The getter and the setter for you, which was kind of nice. I'm like, oh, because I was doing them all by hand, and it was taking forever.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
You know, so that's the way I would do it. And one thing I haven't figured out is how to get it to not make the, because when you hit, I'll show you. When you hit, let me go delete again. Yes, get rid of this one. If I go add attribute with getter and setter, and I say attribute, you know, Brad 2, it'll do it, and then it makes another one as soon as you hit enter, and like if you hit escape, there he goes.
Oh.
It still leaves it there, right?
Yeah.
And what I noticed is it's funny because one of our diagrams, let me find this. One of the examples they had right here in our class, you can see, let's see if I can zoom in on it. That's not zoom. Let me click this. There we go. If you look, it has status and then attribute. So I think they did the same thing. They just left it there on accident in their little example.
I think they did.
Anyway, Okay, so I think our work is let's play with this, and I'll send you that. I'll email you that Word doc,
Okay.
and then let's we'll both make this thing from scratch, and that'll make us learn it.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what we want.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Casey, have a good day. We'll talk to you next week. So we're gonna what did we say we're gonna meet on Tuesday? Are we meeting on when are we meeting next?
I think Tuesday and Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
That's what we agreed to.
Okay, Tuesday at 6.
Yeah.
We'll meet next.
Okay.
Does that work to do like if I start the HOA up and then just send you an invite? Does that work?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. All right. Then we'll see you on Tuesday.
Okay.
Have a nice weekend.
You too.
We'll see you later.
Bye.